While the campaign is really revving up, you have the situation playing out where the surrogates of either candidate, President Joe Biden and Donald Trump, have to be out more loudly, more prominently advocating on behalf of their candidate. And so we've seen Barack Obama out there tooting the horn of Biden, if that's the correct phrase. That doesn't sound right. You have Robert De Niro recently speaking on his behalf. Of course, Joe Biden out there. And because Trump doesn't have as many celebrities who are going to sing his praises, that's a more accurate phrase that I was looking for. And you definitely don't have his wife who will go out there and speak on his behalf. Yikes, she's been absent. He has to deploy his children. Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump in particular. We've been looking at this week their press conferences, and now I have for you a video that was posted by Donald Trump Jr. that is cringy and sort of painful to watch, because Donald Trump Jr., you might be aware of this already, doesn't have the type of relationship with his father that, well, I'll just keep it simple and say that I have with my father, okay? It's a little bit different, a little bit more disjointed and uncomfortable. And in this video, you'll see a little bit of that. Then I'll show you something it reminded me of, an interview that Donald Trump Jr. did with his father. And the whole time, Trump's just annoyed. You can just tell on his face, annoyed that he has to speak to his own son. Eek. And then we'll get to a more recent Donald Trump Jr. interview. So lots to go through in this segment, but let's start with this. Donald Trump Jr. has joined TikTok to proudly proclaim his support for his father. And in the break room at the trial, they're hanging out, eating milk duds, and crafting mean tweets, apparently.
Hey guys, I'm here with your favorite president. We're cranking out a couple mean tweets at the courthouse. Why don't you read that last one, because I think it's pretty epic.
I think I'm going to put it out instead of reading it, but I know my son's doing very well on social media. I'm proud of him.
Stay tuned. It'll be a doozy.
Oh, what? So, first of all, it's a 14-second clip. Couldn't you have asked him if he was going to read the thing? But instead it turns into, we're going to plug the fact that he has, get ready, put this on your calendar, a tweet, as they're calling it, even though it's going to be a Truth Social post because he doesn't tweet, he truths, is coming out soon. The record is dropping, and I guess he's referring to what came out somewhat recently. Even the losers at MBDNC, I guess trying to go for MSNBC or MSDNC, he calls it, admit that this is a bad case, a case that should not have been brought. So we were all so excited for that to be sent out. I'm going to really quickly pause your viewing of this video to ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want to help us continue to grow by clicking that subscribe button. And if you want the daily bonus show, you want to go a step further, click the join button below as well. And then he also wrote, can anybody believe that our government would be spending tens of millions of taxpayer dollars on prosecuting this ridiculous case? I did nothing wrong. In fact, I did everything right. The testimony in court was amazing for the defense. Whatever he says, the jury's going to decide. I don't know if they'll agree with him. But it's interesting there. Don Jr. says, can you read? The whole premise, I guess, was to get Trump to read out loud his tweet, as it was being called, but again, True Social post. And he just goes, no. But you're doing good on social media, so that's good, I guess. And the moment it reminded me of was this interview that Donald Trump Jr. did on his podcast, and a similar dynamic was laid bare.
The country cannot survive.
You know, President Obama is maybe one of those people. You have his letter in the book, and you know, in reading the letter to you when you took over the White House, it's very preachy about democracy and all that, and yet you were
democracy.
Actually 100.
And the reason that you're hearing my voice is because we couldn't get, the podcast was having issues from months ago, but I covered this on the show, so that's where this clip is coming from.
100% right? It wasn't about democracy. He was spying on your campaign.
False.
Started the weaponization of the government that we're talking about, that we're seeing manifested, that we're seeing, you know, Republicans in Congress now attack. But you actually called that way before anyone else. Talk about that letter, the hypocrisy of all of it, because it was elite, preachy towards you, and yet they were doing the exact opposite of what they were saying about democracy.
So I thought the letter was very nice. All right. I thought it was a beautiful letter, beautifully composed, handwritten, all of the things that it should be. It's a very important letter. You know, when you receive those.
So just, again, completely shuts down. Donald Trump Jr. is trying to tee him up. Sir, as we saw in the first video, will you read the incredible tweet that you've been crafting? And Trump goes, no, but your audience can see it soon. And then here, just tell me about how hypocritical. Obama was. He wrote you this letter talking about democracy. Ick. And then he's actually against democracy somehow because of a conspiracy theory about him spying on Trump's campaign. And Trump goes, nah, shh. Here's the truth about it. It was actually a sweet letter. So not exactly cohesive as a father-son duo, as you can tell. But moving from that, I do want to show you Donald Trump Jr. last night on Newsmax, again advocating on behalf of his father, here going after Robert De Niro. De Niro appeared at the courthouse to advocate on behalf of President Joe Biden, and more so criticized Donald Trump, rightly so, and that very much triggered the name of Donald Trump Jr.'s podcast. Trump himself, Donald Trump Jr., and all of the MAGA folks. Now they hate De Niro. They're calling him a washed-up actor because notably he's just so... no one respects his acting anymore. And here's Donald Trump Jr.
He'll come out there in his mask. He'll do this thing, and he gets heckled down by a New York crowd, which tells you everything you actually need to know about what's going on. But what's really worse, Eric, is frankly the fact that he took on anyone that was MAGA, anyone that was America First. He's calling them clowns and jokers. I mean, no one hates hardworking Americans, blue collar, hardworking, middle class Americans.
Quite like my father.
More than the Democrat Party. And Robert De Niro is the epitome of that. Listen to his words, not just yesterday, but over the last few years. As he's slowly gotten worse with his Trump derangement syndrome, he's not just attacking Trump. He's attacking the lifeblood of this country, the people who make things happen, the people who work so hard, and the people who are getting crushed by the policies of the radical Democrats. Joe Biden, De Niro, the Hollywood elite who haven't abandoned Joe Biden and the Democrat policies that have failed America so badly, they hate America. They hate the hardworking men and women of America. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to everything he says.
Do you notice how he doesn't cite policies? I'm going to keep saying it. Yesterday we went through thoroughly, extensively, and thank you to the many of you who watched that segment, despite it being so long, the policy record of President Joe Biden. Why? Because I have said so many times our conversation need to get back to policy, so at least I should be following that advice. So we went through it in depth, and it's missing in a lot of our political conversations. Just a pretty objective, on-paper discussion of what the record is of Biden and what the record is of Trump. And we should talk too about rhetoric and about aesthetics and about all that, and that's fine, but we focus almost exclusively on that and forget about the policy, the legislation, etc. And so here, he's not able to cite evidence as to how Democrats hate working class Americans, how Biden hates working class Americans, especially given that Trump's one major legislative success was disproportionately cutting taxes, or cutting taxes in a way that disproportionately benefited those at the top of the economic ladder, pushing even more wealth in the direction of the wealthy, while Biden's record has been one of trying to uplift communities that need it, investing in communities that need it, uplifting the American population at large. And I know that sounds a little bit, the term I've been using is cheerleady, but I'm pretty compelled to say it that way from now on, given what we walked through yesterday and how extensive the pro-working class policies have been on the part of Biden, whether it be lowering prescription drug costs or creating millions of jobs through infrastructure projects and the CHIPS and Science Act, and being incredibly pro-union and all the different things we discussed yesterday. So that is the truth. Don Jr. has his version of events where De Niro is alienating every hardworking American, just like Biden's pro-worker policies. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments.